This is Duke University.
This year's Martin Luther King Jr. holiday is juxtaposed with the inauguration of the nation's first African-American president. Some see a connection between President Obama's oratory and Reverend King's preaching. Duke University professor William Turner teaches preaching and is a pastor himself. He also co-chairs the university's King Commemoration Committee. He says the real relationship between Obama and King comes not through words, but history.
If you listen closely to Barack's speech, you can hear some traces of King. But the point of contact is not really with the speeches. The point of contact is with a continuity of events. It's a way of connecting or interpreting events that does not rely solely on a linear calendar.
And so what interpretation are you using there to connect those events?
The interpretation is that King speaks prophetically of a dream, and he actually makes statements like, I have a dream that that one day my children will be judged in a way that's quite different. He uses the term content of character, but differently from the way that a racist culture, a racist civilization makes judgments. In 1963, it was incomprehensible that a person of African descent could be nominated as the standard bearer of a major political party, much less be elected president.
Joseph Lowery is coming here for the Martin Luther King celebration. He's going to give the keynote address for Duke's commemoration of Dr. King. And then he's going to head on up to Washington and give the benediction at the inauguration for what would then be President Obama. If you get your 5-10 minutes with him and he says, I'm still working up this benediction, what would you toss out to him?
Well, first of all, I don't believe Joseph Lowery would need any advice from me. I would love to get some from him. First of all, he's been around. He's been in the struggle. He walked with Martin King. He saw the threat. He knows how vicious the times were. He has seen the change. I believe he will know how to pray. A benediction is a blessing. And see, the problem that we have in this civilization and in the church is, and in much of the preaching that we hear now is, that we want to hear about and talk about blessing only in one perspective. If you read in Deuteronomy 28, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, where you get this litany of blessing, and then right in the middle of the chapter, it flips. If you disobey, everything that was a blessing becomes a curse.
Can you see Reverend Lowery telling the nation what its blessings will be and also what its curses might be at that inauguration?
No, you don't do that in a benediction. Benediction not long enough. But you can pray a benediction in such a way that you narrate blessing as contingent upon walking in obedience and in the favor of God.
Now, something you call for in one of your sermons, you said that black preaching is actually in a way in peril by Obama being elected president, and you call for some prophetic post-election protocols. So what are you putting out there, I guess, to fellow preachers about post-election preaching?
Well, post-election preaching, one, I don't know that I would say that black preaching is in peril, but what I would caution concerning is what I call the hit that prophetic preaching has taken. As I see it, in an attempt of certain persons to get to Obama, Jeremiah Wright was crushed and run over just like a tank. And with that, a severe challenge was raised against prophetic preaching. And if you have noticed, you don't really hear nearly as much from what I call the prophetic pulpit in this day and time and in this post-election moment as you heard prior to it. The threat, if we're not careful, is that the election of one person, and God knows, I pray that his tenure will be highly successful, and that the people that he chooses to work with him will serve him well, and even more than that, serve the nation well and serve the world well. But the role of the prophet, of the prophetic pulpit, and of prophetic preaching is to keep the standard of justice high and to cry out for the poor, no matter who is the prince.
Here at Duke, you've held just about every role possible. You've been a student, a seminarian, administrator, and now professor. But in fact, your family has a history with the university that goes back even before you stepped on campus here in 1966. So what's that history and what's its lesson?
My father traveled the railroad, so he knew Duke, he knew at that time North Carolina was a fairly progressive state. But here's the key. He told me, point blank, that he used to live near East Campus and look across that wall and dream about going to Duke. He knew that it was impossible for him because no black people got on the campus unless they're driving chauffeur's cabs or unless they were coming to do service work. He told me that his father was run off the job site. He was a hard carrier when they were building Duke Hospital. And he was insulted. A racial slur was used on him. And he hit a man with one of those stones and was run off the job site when they were building Duke Hospital. So, and he looked at me and told me these things. And then he said, and my son is here. What am I getting at? I'm getting at a passion, a capacity to dream, a way to look at the world that is not fixated on historical contingencies and limitations, whereby you can actually inspire another generation to do the things that you believe will be done. You can't do them yourself, but you are fortifying and preparing another generation to do those things. That's the kind of hope that African people in this country have lived by for years, and has been inspired largely by the preaching of the Black church.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.